This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you by Tower Electronics. For connectors, cables, and more, call 920-435-2973 or visit pl-259.com. And by ICOM. Heard it, worked it, logged it. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information about ICOM radios.
It's Ham Radio.
Good evening, everyone. It's time for Ham Talk Live. It's episode number 160, the 75th anniversary of the Voice of America Bethany station, recorded live on Thursday, April 11th, 2019. I'm your host, Neil Rapp, WB9VPG. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Ham Talk Live. Tonight we're joined by Melinda Zemper, Lee Hite, K8CLI, and Jocelyn Brault, KD8VRX, and we'll take your calls live in just a few minutes. Last week here on the show, Emmett Onassi, the third, W0QH, was here to talk about MCOM-1. That's the mobile interoperable communications van that goes around to various ham fests for display and is on call at a moment's notice if needed in an emergency. So if you want to hear more about that, you can listen anytime. Just go to hamtalklive.com or your favorite podcast app, or on YouTube, or you can catch the rebroadcast on WTWW 5085 AM shortwave Saturday evenings at about 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So we're going to talk about the Voice of America Museum tonight, so get those questions ready to go. And I'm going to give you the phone number to call here. So if you want to write this down, I'll give you that number. But if you're listening to us on Thursday night, you can give us a call. If you're not listening to us on Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, nobody's going to answer the phone. So here's that number. It's 812-650-9556. Again, 812-650-9556 is the number that you will call when we get to the second part of the show, when we invite you to call in. You can tweet us, though, anytime on Twitter. We'll be watching that throughout the night. It's at Ham Talk Live on Twitter. So I'll be back with Melinda, Jocelyn, and Lee right after this word from ICOM America right here on Ham Talk Live. Create your own band opening. ICOM's newest SDR transceiver, the IC9700, is coming soon. This radio is bringing direct sampling to the UHF-VHF weak signal world. The IC9700 all-mode transceiver is loaded with innovative features such as dedicated amateur satellite operation, color touchscreen, D-Star capability built right in, RF direct sampling on the 2-meter and 70-centimeter bands, dual independent receivers capable of full duplex operation as well as dual watch, and 100 watts max power on 2 meters, 75 watts max on 70 centimeters, and 10 watts max on 1.2 gigahertz. Pack your bags because the Dayton Hamvention is coming up. From May 17th to 19th at the Greene County Fairgrounds and Expo Center, you can see the latest and greatest ICOM gear and meet hams from all over the world. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on ICOM radios.
Oh yeah, you're talking ham radio, baby. You're listening to Ham Talk Live with Neil Rapp.
Thanks to ICOM America for sponsoring the show again tonight. Be sure to check them out at the upcoming Dayton Hamvention. We'll be talking more about Hamvention soon. You can check them out online, though, at icomamerica.com/amateur. Tonight, our guests are Melinda Zemper. Melinda's the president of Oak Tree Communications, which provides writing, editing, and media relations, publicity, and marketing services. She's a graduate of Miami University, Ohio, and a member of the National Voice of America Museum of Broadcasting Board of Directors, and does the media relations for the museum. Jocelyn Brault, KD8 VRX and VA2 VRX, became interested in ham radio as a Boy Scout. He became licensed in 2013, now holds an extra class license. He is a technical analyst and systems administrator with Vertical Solutions in Cincinnati. He was a scout leader and now a radio merit badge counselor, a mentor with Vex Robotics, and a member of the Westchester Amateur Radio Association, the Dayton Amateur Radio Association, the Ohio Valley Experimenter Club, and the Greater Cincinnati Builders Group. He's the proud father of Chris, KD8YVJ, or as Don Wilbanks calls him, Cincinnati Short Rib. He's the 2015 Hiram Percy Maxim Award winner and the member of the 2017 Youth DX Adventure to Costa Rica. And finally, Lee Hite, K8CLI, is one of the lead docents at the National Voice of America Museum of Broadcasting in Westchester, Ohio. Lee's a retired electronics engineer with a passion for investigating technical issues, occasionally surrounded with mystery and often bridging several fields of technology. Lee was first licensed in 1954 and is active with the Mason, Ohio, and Warren County CERT teams. And he also engineers wind chimes and biomass briquettes. So, Melinda, Jocelyn, and Lee, welcome to Ham Talk Live.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you, Neil. Well, thanks for the invite.
Yeah, Lee's on his second pass through the show here, and Jocelyn has been calling in some. But Melinda's the newbie here tonight, and Melinda's going to start off. We're going to talk a little bit about the 75th anniversary celebration that's going on this year at the Bethany station. And so first of all, just for those tuning in who maybe haven't heard about the Bethany station there on the north side of Cincinnati, give us a little bit of a history on the Voice of America Bethany station. Melinda?
Wow. I can talk for a long time about this, but I'll try to make it relatively short. In order to get a clear picture of the VOA Museum, I think I need to tell you a little bit about the history of the VOA Bethany station. So if we step back in time for a moment to the 30s and early 40s, when radio was king, this was the time before TV and the internet, when people got their news from the plop of the newspaper on their front porch and from their living room radio. And here in Cincinnati, entrepreneur Powell Crosley Jr. had by the mid-20s become the world's largest manufacturer of radios. His Crosley Broadcasting Corporation was on the cutting edge of radio technology, especially with the development of antenna technology. He knew early on that it wasn't enough to buy a radio. You had to have something to listen to on it. So at a time when other radio stations were small and local, Crosley was developing radio programming on his WLW radio station. He was also experimenting with radio technology, antenna technology, and looking into expanding radio broadcast markets. So by 1939, he was broadcasting news and music to Europe and Latin America with WLWO. That's WLW Overseas. That was a 50-kilowatt shortwave transmitter designed by R.J. Rockwell, one of his lead engineers. So going back to Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1944, when the Japanese attacked the United States, it was the single largest loss of life on American soil in one day until September 11th. Within days after Pearl Harbor, the U.S. was at war on two fronts, Japan as well as Germany. And President Roosevelt knew that our nation was ill-prepared to combat the sophisticated Japanese and Nazi Germany propaganda machines that were in place at that time. So he called together the top U.S. broadcasting companies to come to Washington, D.C. to help him develop a communications strategy to help him fight this new war on the communications front. It was going to be, on this front, a war of words. So in this meeting was CBS, NBC, ABC, General Electric, and Crosley. They were all invited to that meeting in January of 1942. Now, Crosley was asked if he could build transmitters powerful enough to send American war news to Europe and Nazi-occupied countries. During a break in the meeting, Crosley's Jim Schaus called Cincinnati to ask Rockwell if Crosley could build transmitters that were powerful enough to do the job. And with this kind of, offhand courage that's typical of that greatest generation, Rockwell said, "Hey, I don't know, but I'll sure give it a try." So engineers at WLW came home from that meeting with a one-page contract, which is difficult to believe today. But they had this one-page contract to acquire another shortwave transmitter and design and construct 4 larger and more efficient antennas to better serve Europe and South America. So that was the birth of the VOA station, Bethany Station. Shall I continue on, or did you want to interject anything, Neil?
Yeah, let's forward a little bit to where things are today, and we're going to talk a little bit about these anniversary events. So let's kind of finish that up, and then we'll get into the anniversary stuff.
Okay. Well, with the 75th anniversary of the VOA Bethany Station this year, we've got about a dozen free events that we're hosting. And primarily the reason is to bring community awareness about the museum and bring people actually into the museum. So this year, which is exciting, is a 4-part event series called The Voice of Truth in America, celebrating 75 years of the VOA Bethany Station. And we're doing that in conjunction with the Midpoint Library System here in Westchester. We've hosted 2 of the events already, and they've been among our most powerful and popular events ever at the museum. Jocelyn Brault is right here with me now, and he's the WCARA event designer for the June 5th Ride the Radio Waves event. And I'll just let him talk about that in just a second. I just want to talk about 2 new events that we're still working on. One is a 75th anniversary of D-Day commemoration, which will be held Thursday, June 6th at 9 a.m. on the front lawn of the VOA Museum. After a short ceremony, we'll have coffee and donuts in the museum lobby, and veterans will be admitted to the museum for free until about noon. So friends and families of vets are welcome as well. This is going to be open to the public. Also in June, we're going to have a really fun fundraiser. We're rolling out our Cincinnati Liars Lager beer. We're working with Grainworks, which is a Westchester brewery located across the street from the museum. And they're developing this beer with us and donating some proceeds from sales to go to the museum this year. Ironically, or serendipitously, Grainworks is located on land that used to house some of our rhombic antennas. And details are kind of still forthcoming on this fundraiser. We don't have an exact date for that event yet, but expect it to happen on a Saturday in June. So stay tuned for more on that front.
Now, Melinda,
Finally,
let me stop you there just for a second.
Part of this here, the most important event that we have coming up is the 4th annual Rocking the Radio fundraiser event on Saturday, September 21st. The revenue raised from that event goes towards keeping the lights on and museum operations running smoothly. Cost is $150 per person. We have a variety of sponsorship levels available if you can help out, so check out our website in the coming months for details on that. Jocelyn, would you like to talk to us a little bit about the Ride the Radio Waves event?
I can certainly do that. Neil, did you have anything?
Yeah.
Any questions for Melinda?
Yeah, I wanted to stop Melinda there for a second, and I guess she couldn't hear me. The Cincinnati Liars Lager beer, you might explain about the Cincinnati Liars, because everybody may not be aware of that term Cincinnati Liars, what that's all about, and that's kind of an interesting aspect. And I think you guys even have T-shirts for that now, isn't that right?
Well, we're going to have T-shirts shortly, but Cincinnati Liars is really a lot of fun. It is for Bethany Station anyway. Right after September 1944, when the VOA Bethany Station went live with transmitting VOA news to Europe on the European front, to Germany as well as North Africa, nobody really knew at first whether the VOA was going to be listened to. But we found out pretty much immediately that a lot of people were listening, including Adolf Hitler, because Hitler, who had the most advanced propaganda machine going, in the world probably at that time, called the Bethany Station, quote, those Cincinnati liars. That was really a nice compliment for us.
So I just kind of caught on, and now, we're working on the T-shirts, and now we've got lager beer.
Yep,
so,
can't wait for that.
Yeah. All right, Jocelyn, tell us a little bit about this riding the radio waves thing.
Yeah, absolutely, Neil. So, as Melinda said, we were partnered with the Midpoint Library System here in Westchester to have a few events. One of them is geared towards kids of all ages, and it will be on Wednesday, June 5th from 1 to 3 p.m., and what we're going to do is we're going to set up a VHF station, a 2-meter station there for the kids to be able to talk to operators on the air. And we're also going to have a couple of computers showing animation of radio waves, amplitude. We have a couple of demo programs where basically they talk and they can see the modulation of their voice. And we're kind of trying to explain to them how we go from the voice being modulated to being transformed into energy and being sent out the antenna through the transmitter. So, and then for some of the younger crowds, we'll have some puzzles and coloring and stuff like that. But the big takeaway that we want them to go away with is know what a tube radio is. They're all familiar with radio, but not a lot of them understand. But they're used to the broadcast part, not the hey, I can talk back. So. Do a little bit of two-way there, learn push-to-talk, the frequency concept, wave motion, transmitter and receiver protocol. So we'll have a little animation probably of how the waves are transmitted and how they're captured and stuff. And we always have them do a little bit of phonetic alphabet where they have to say their name and what school, their age, or something like that, and just talk to. We've got a couple of friendly operators on the other side that are willing to talk to the children and basically keep them active and going. And at the end, of course, we'll have some flyers for the museum and for the radio club for them to come and stop by, and if they're interested in pursuing it.
Now, Jocelyn, I'm going to go off the beaten path here for a second. There's another activity in this series that I just love the title of, and it's There's a Radio in My Cell Phone. A lot of kids don't realize that a cell phone is a radio.
And it's funny because one of the trick questions is always, when's the last time you used a radio? And everybody goes, I don't know. Well, in the car earlier today or something, they always go back and you're like, when's the last time you checked your phone? And they're like, well, just before I got it here. And it's like that there's a radio, and there's more than one radio. Obviously, there's the data. There's Wi-Fi. There's the LTE for data and voice. There's the GPS. There's Bluetooth. There's NFC. There's tons of radios in there. So, it's always interesting to see the kids' reactions because they don't realize that there's radios in there. And I think one of the concepts that's missing today is a lot of the kids don't understand the infrastructure, right? They're like, it works, but they don't really question why it works. They just know it works, and as long as it works, they're happy. Yeah. So we're going to try to demystify that a little bit with them.
Oh, that's a great idea. And a lot of these ideas, check them out over at the VOA Museum. But if you're not located near the VOA Museum, you can't get there. These are some ideas that maybe you can run off with and use in your local area. stuff like there's a radio in my cell phone. That's some important things that kids need to learn, and probably some adults too.
Yep.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about some fundraisers coming up, and we've already talked a little bit about that. But Melinda, let me throw it back over to you and talk a little bit about what these funds are going toward that we're trying to raise here, and then we're going to talk about a real special fundraiser that's going to be of interest to the ham radio community here in just a minute. But tell us what this is all going toward.
Well, we're really looking for money for a variety of projects. We hope to raise eventually between $750,000 and $1 million to install an energy-efficient HVAC system that will allow all visitors to be comfortable no matter what room they're in the museum. We also want to renovate our West Garage, which looks like and has the acoustics of a working garage right now. So we want to make that into curated exhibit space so we can put exhibits inside there. We also want to make the entire first floor accessible to everybody who comes into the museum, people of all abilities, by eliminating ramps and steps throughout the whole first floor. And also on that list, to become ADA compliant, we'd like to build a handicapped accessible entrance on the west side of the building.
Okay, so if you want to check out what they're doing, voamuseum.org, and if you're interested in supporting, you can contact admin at voamuseum.org, and you'll have a chance to help them out on that. And another way that you can help out on that is actually during Hamvention Weekend. So, Lee, tell us all about Hamvention Weekend at the museum.
Yes, absolutely. The museum has put together a very special tour specifically for amateur radio operators on Saturday of Hamfest weekend. That's Saturday, May 18th. And it will be a private tour of the complete Paul Crosley collection, which is one of the best collections in the world. And secondly, and very special, will be a tour of the 500 kilowatt Paul Crosley Jr. WLW transmitter. It was the only 500,000 watt AM broadcast transmitter in North America and is on display about a mile and a half down the road at the WLW transmitter site. And that is being put together specifically for hams. It is conducted by a person that you probably already know, Jay Adrick, K8CJY, and Jeff Mendenhall, W8GMN. They will be conducting the tour, and the cost is a simple $45 donation to the museum, and that will provide you transportation from the museum. We will have a shuttle running from the museum down to the WLW transmitter site, back and forth. So you get yourself to the museum, and we'll take care of the rest. The tour is 6:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. Saturday, May 18th. It's going to be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity here because that property has been sold, and it's uncertain about the longevity of this transmitter. So it's a great opportunity to come see it. It was on the air for 9 years, from 1934 to 1943, and is an amazing thing to see. If you've not looked inside a big, powerful 500,000 watt AM broadcast transmitter, I think you're going to be quite surprised at how you go about doing some things that we do in an amateur radio kilowatt amplifier. They're done much differently when you have to do a 500,000 watts. So get reservations in. Reservations are required. You can put your reservation in at the VOA Museum website. The URL on that is voamuseum.org, voamuseum.org. You can sign up there, and it's a $45 donation to the museum, and it's going to be an amazing tour because if you've never looked inside a big transmitter like this, it is very much worth it. So that's what we're doing specifically for hams and specifically for the Hamfest weekend. So get your reservations in. I just talked to Jay Adrick today, and they're already signing up. So I'm sure these reservations are going to go quickly. So back to you, Neil. Okay,
and we just released a short video promotion on this special tour of the WLW transmitter and the Voice of America Museum special hours for Hamvention Weekend on our social media site. So if you look on Facebook, on Twitter, or on YouTube, you'll see a link to a video there that shows you a little sneak peek of the tour if you're interested in seeing that. And thanks to Randy K7AJE or AGE for giving us the WLW tour video, and then the museum provided the rest. So check out that video on social media, and that'll give you all the information again and let you have a little sneak peek there at what you can get. So I'm sure those will go fast. And while we're talking about Hamvention, it's not just Saturday night. Saturday night is the WLW tour in addition to the museum being open, but you've got all kinds of opportunities for hams to run down from Dayton and check out the museum. So tell us about that before we go to break here.
Yes, we're open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Thursday and Friday, the hours are 4 p.m. to 9 p.m., and Saturday, the hours are 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. At the museum. It's about a 35, 40-minute drive south of Xenia, where the Hamfest will be taking place. So it's an easy drive down and back. One of the things that I think hams are going to be interested in, we have just opened up the Collins transmitter. We used a 250,000 watt Collins 821A transmitters, and it has not been open to the tour guest of the museum except the front end of it, the control end. And we spent the last couple of months opening that up. We have removed a lot of the sheet metal, and you can really see inside this. And it would be a good precursor to look at the 250,000 watt transmitter and then go down the road and look at the WLW 500,000 watt transmitter. So stop in, see that. You're more than welcome and encouraged to visit our ham shack. I think Jocelyn's going to talk a little bit about that, WC8VOA. And there's a lot of other things. We have a new wireless collection room with a demonstration of the wireless technology. So back to you there, Neil.
Okay, and I got to mention, because there's those Drake fans out there, that yes. Drake collection that's there is just unmatched. It's practically every Drake radio ever made, so you get a chance to check that out as well. Okay, well, we're overdue for a break, so we're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll take your calls. We'll take your tweets, and we'll talk to Jocelyn about the Ham Shack a little bit more and some other things going on at the National Voice of America Museum of Broadcasting in Westchester, Ohio, right after this word from Tower Electronics right here on Ham Talk Live.
Is this getting serious?
I think so.
Well, how do you feel about it? Just imagine if you hadn't run out of PL259s.
Just imagine if your connectors weren't from Tower Electronics.
Consider the sophisticated quality of connectors from Tower Electronics. Their silver-plated end connectors are so good, they've even been used on the International Space Station.
I'm not so sure why I ever used any other PL259s.
Mine are better. Besides, you deserve the best. You know I love you.
Don't be caught without PL259s. Visit Tower Electronics at a Hamfest near you, or visit them online anytime at pl-259.com or call 920-435-2973. They also have ham sticks, mobile antennas, and meters too. See the whole catalog. Go to pl-259.com. Tower Electronics, the ham's dime store since 1978.
Nominations are now open for the Amateur Radio Newsline Bill Pasternak WA6ITF Young Ham of the Year Award. I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW. Since 1986, we've had the honor of celebrating the accomplishments of youth in ham radio, and we want to know about your exceptional young ham. You'll find the rules and a nominating form by clicking the YHOTY tab on arnewsline.org. Fill it out, send it in, and we'll see you and an amazing young ham at the Huntsville, Alabama Ham Fest in August. Thanks, and 73 from Amateur Radio Newsline.
It's not the amount of power, it's the size of our tower. Ham Talk Live.
Thanks to Tower Electronics for sponsoring the show again tonight. Coming up, their Hamfest schedule April 13th. This weekend, they're in Stoughton, Wisconsin, and Mobile, Alabama. And then April 20th, Gainesville, Florida, and April 27th, Calhoun, Georgia. Or you can visit them anytime at pl-259.com. And, of course, they will be at Hamvention as well. Ham Talk Live is on the air every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time right here at hamtalklive.com. And be sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So it's time now for your calls. If you have a question for Melinda, Jocelyn, or Lee, give us a call at 812-650-9556. Again, 812-650-9556 is the phone number, or you can tweet us or at Ham Talk Live. And if you're listening to us on WTWW shortwave or on the podcast edition of the show, you won't be able to reach us because we're not there anymore. It's Thursday night at 9:30 Eastern Daylight, 9:32 Eastern Daylight Time at the moment. So unless you're listening live, you won't be able to reach us. Okay, so when we ran out of time here, Jocelyn, we cut you off a little bit. You want to talk a little bit about the Ham Shack, so let's do that while we're waiting on the phone calls and the tweets to come in. And you're going to have a booth at Hamvention as well, right?
That's correct, Neil. We do have a booth at Hamvention. We'll be in Building 1, and the booth number is 1190. We're by, I think, the exit door. That's funny. But it's the last year that was the Maxim building. So as you walk into the fairgrounds, through the ticket entrance, we're the first major building on the left, so we'll be in there. And then, as Lee mentioned, we are going to have extended hours for people to come down after Hamvention closes to come and see us here at the museum. And for people that's going to be exit 22 off of I-75, it's the Tylersville exit. Just go east off the exit, and we're about a mile down the road on the left, and you can't miss us. As Lee mentioned, it's about 35-40 minutes. There's going to be VOA Park sign, the brown sign on the highway. Don't follow those. Those will take you to the park side of the VOA grounds. And we also have a talk-in frequency, which will be on our repeater, which is 145.39 negative and no PL. And we have more information on our website at wc8voa.org if people want to check that out. Now, you were mentioning about the Ham Shack. So, yes, we have 7 operating positions. We've got 4 recent, fairly recent radio. We've got a 7300 ICOM, a 9100 ICOM. We've got the Kenwood 590. We've got a Yaesu 450D. And we've got a couple of older models. We've got a Kenwood TS 520 and a Yaesu FT 101E. Not the newer version, the old version. And then we've got antennas to match there. We got tri-bands and dipoles and fan dipoles and stuff. So the shack will be open. We only ask that people bring their license, and they can operate from the shack. And we're happy to show them what we can do and what we have. So looking forward to see some visitors in here.
Now, speaking of licenses, when somebody puts a call sign in on the sign-up sheet, we know how to find the name and address and everything because we do that all the time as hams. Jack Dominic, the executive director of the museum, however, doesn't. So we need to make sure that if you sign up for the special WLW tour at voamuseum.org, that you put all that information in. So some people are just putting the call sign in there and boom, gone. And so some people don't know how, what your name is from your call sign. So we just wanted to get that out there too. So anything else on the Ham Shack, Jocelyn?
No, Neil, that's it. Well, actually, obviously the museum there's an admission fee for the museum. It's a very small $5, and that'll get you through the museum, of course, and be able to get on the radio here. And the museum, if you're not coming for Hamvention, we also have normal hours, which is 1 to 4 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday.
And it's a great place to come in and work. And Jocelyn and I were working with the youth contesting program here a couple of weeks ago in the Shack, and Mike and Mark and some others throughout the weekend for WPX, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we had a good time. I think our final score, Neil, I don't know if you saw it, it was 1.4 million. So we did way better than we thought we would with the, as we say, we're not a big gun station, but we've got a decent sized setup, better than most people have at their house. So anyways, it worked out well.
Yeah, it really did. It worked out well, and we got some youth operators involved and trained and better contesters as a result. So it was a great experience over there. Always enjoy getting over there. Well, the phone number is 812-650-9556. If you have a question or a comment to add in here on the show, give us a call. It's 812-650-9556. And we're checking the tweets here as well, and lots of fan mail here tonight, as usual, but don't see any questions as of yet. So if you have one, give us a tweet or give us a call at 812-650-9556, and we'll try to get that answered for you. Lee, let's go back to you. And I know you've got a long list of things that are happening, and you all do such a great job of adding to the museum and updating things in the museum as time goes by. So every time I walk in, it's not the same as it was before. So tell us a little bit more about what's been going on lately with the museum itself.
Okay, yeah, will do, Neil. One thing I'll mention while Jocelyn's talking about the Ham Shack there is if you get into the Ham Shack, make sure you take a look at the Omnigraph. We have a functional 1904 code practice machine called the Omnigraph, and it's kind of fun to watch. It's very mechanical. It's hooked up to a code practice oscillator and a sounder, and it's kind of fun to see how telegraphy was done at the turn of the century. So take a look at that when you get into the Ham Shack. Other things going on in the museum is, as you mentioned, Neil, we've been focusing very much on trying to make the museum layman friendly. Engineers understand what we did. Ham radio operators understand what we do, but a lot of our visitors are not technical, so we've been focusing on that. And in the control room for the VOA, we have a new propagation display. It's a laser display, actually, to try to communicate exactly how signals bounce off the ionosphere and how do we push a signal around the world. And it's an interesting display. We also have on display a lot of the high-power tubes. When you get back into the columns, we display the 250,000-watt tubes, and we do have one tube there that's rated at 250,000 watts on a single tube. It's kind of fun to take a look at that. And when we get over into the wireless area, you may be surprised, but the overall story for the Titanic, of course, did not end well. But it has a fantastic wireless story, and we tell that story in the wireless timeline room. So stop in, take a look at that. I think you'll be surprised at what spark transmitters did back then. Back to you, Neil.
All right, 812-650-9556. You have a question, now's your chance, because we're going to run out of time here pretty soon. So give us a call, 812-650-9556, or tweet us at Ham Talk Live. And, I'm kind of excited, actually. I haven't made it back to the Collins since you took all those plates off. so you can see in that thing. So I'm kind of excited to get a chance to sneak back there and take a look at it. Inside the museum, you've got an exhibit that's the Gray History of Wireless exhibit, and there's a lot of the Drake gear in there, and so just talk a little bit about the Gray Museum within the Voice of America Museum.
Yeah, sure. Jack Gray was an early employee of Powell Crosley and worked for Powell during the startup of his radio business down on Arlington Street. And then when the VOA was formed, he was immediately transferred out to the VOA and was with Crosley in the VOA for pretty much the rest of his career. And one of the things Jack did early on, clear back with the beginning of crystal sets, is when he found an extra one at the plant, he took it home. And he started collecting wireless equipment from the very get-go, the very beginning of wireless. And the Gray History of Wireless collection is an amazing collection of authentic, original equipment, all the way from the beginning of crystals through spark transmitters, rotary spark, up through Atworth Kent, and of course the Crosley connection. We have one of the best Crosley connections, or Crosley collections in the world, and moves in then all the way through up to about 1940. So if you're interested in old-time radio, it is a fantastic place to see. In the next room, right beside it, as Neil mentioned, is the Drake collection. That was actually donated by Mr. Drake and is pretty much a complete collection. I have not counted every single model number, but it's very close to being a complete collection. In addition, we have a lot of the original microphones, the carbon button microphones that were originally used by WLW. It's interesting to just see how technology has evolved over time, and you'll not be disappointed.
And the last thing we're going to throw in here is the gift shop. We're working on a gift shop, and I'm kind of excited to see what all's going in that. So tell us a little bit about the gift shop.
Yes, one of our volunteers, Mark, has spent a great deal of time rehabbing an old room in the museum. We have a very attractive gift shop. We are still populating it, but we have quite a bit in there now. We have several of the various Powell Crosley books. We have shirts, VOA shirts, and VOA hats. Last year we sold out of hats. We will try to have an adequate supply this year to supply everyone that wants a VOA hat. We have a lot of artifacts from the original transmitter. We have 807s mounted on a walnut display board. That is a very popular item. People like to buy artifacts from the original transmitter. We have vacuum variable capacitors for sale and some other high power resistors that are kind of interesting when you try to think of a large power transmitter. We also have a collection of puzzles. They're free. Stop in, get a free puzzle. We have puzzles for amateur radio. We have puzzles for old-time radio. We have puzzles for the Voice of America. So they're all free. Just stop in. If you like puzzles, make sure you stop in and pick up one of those.
Now, let me get this right, Lee. Let me get this straight. I just made this connection. So Melinda was telling us about the Cincinnati Liars lager beer that's going to be coming out. And in the gift shop, you've got 807s mounted on a board. So you can have an 807 with your 807?
I just got it. I just got it, Neil. I see what you've connected. Yeah, because we've always historically referred to let's go out and have an 807, and we need to pick up on that. That's a very good observation, Neil.
So there you go, folks. You can go to the museum and have an 807 with an 807. Doesn't get much better than that.
That's
well,
right.
We've thrown a lot of dates and times and all this kind of stuff at you, and we're about to finish up here, so I'm going to throw it back to Melinda to kind of remind us where we can find all this information. So if we happen to be in the area and want to go to one of these 75th anniversary events, how do we find out where these are and when?
Well, you can always go to our website. It's www.voamuseum.org, or even call us at 513-777-0027. If you've got any questions, especially questions for Jack Dominic, our director, contact us here at admin, that's ADMIN, at voamuseum.org, and we'll be sure to get back to you as soon as we can.
All right, so check that out. And if you get a chance during Hamvention Weekend, if you're going to be in the area, swing on down to the museum. I'm looking forward to the Saturday night with some of the Newsline crew and some of the ICQ podcast crew and some of the Workbench crew. I think we're all going to meet down there. So looking forward to that. But if you get a chance, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there are extended hours for the museum. It's a great chance to get down there and check that out. And then Saturday, the WLW tour is just something that's going to be fabulous and may never happen again. We don't know, but we'll have to see what happens with that property. But could be. So now's the time to check it out. So come on down to the museum and look things over. Okay, well, let's go around here. Any last comments? Anything we missed here, gang, before we close it down for tonight?
I would say just one thing here, Neil, that make sure if you want to take that tour of the WLW transmitter, 500,000 watt, make sure you get a reservation in early. They are already filling up. It's limited to 50 people max is all that Jay and Jeff can handle. So get your reservation in and make sure, as Neil said, put in all of your information, not just your call sign, but your name and fill out the rest of the form.
Jocelyn?
Not much else to say, Neil. I think just reminder people of, stop by at Hamvention and see us at the booth. And then once it closes, coming down here to take a little drive south and come and visit us.
All right. And Melinda?
Well, if I can just say one more thing. The VOA Museum educates a whole new generation of people about the contribution that shortwave radio technology and the Bethany station played in supporting and sustaining democracy. So we have an ongoing need for visitors and docents as well as donors for the museum. We're largely dependent on donations and volunteer labor for a lot of the things that we want to do here in the development of the museum. So we just ask you to come on out and support us as you can. Thank you.
All right. Well, that's a wrap for this week's Ham Talk Live. Thanks to my guests, Melinda Zemper and Lee Hite, K8CLI, and Jocelyn Brault, KD8VRX, and everybody out there in cyberspace for listening and calling in, and invite you all back next Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time when we start our Hamvention preview shows, and sent out some information on that. We've got the schedule all put together. Next week, Paul Stetzer, N8HM, will be here from AMSAT. He's the Executive Vice President of AMSAT, and he'll be here to talk about the AMSAT Academy that's taking place the day before Hamvention and a lot of the other AMSAT-related activities at this year's Dayton Hamvention. And then we're going to have the Hamvention Award winners on the show. We're going to have some of them on the show with Michael Coulter, W8CI. And then we have some other shows coming up where Michael's going to come back and give us all the latest news a week before. And then on Hamvention Eve, don't forget about Hamvention Eve, we'll be on the air. And we'll track down all the weather and traffic and parking and everything you need to know to get out to Hamvention. Be sure to tune in on Thursday night, and we've got some nice surprises planned for that broadcast as well. And the other show that's going to be on May 2nd is going to feature WWV. Matt Deutsch, the chief engineer at WWV and one of the guys from the club out there. They're celebrating their 100th anniversary this year, and so they're going to do a special forum at Hamvention, and we're going to preview that on May 2nd on the show as well. So make sure you check all of that out, but tune in the night before Hamvention here at hamtalklive.com and find out all the latest weather, traffic, and transportation issues and all that kind of information that you need before you go out to Xenia. So I'll say good night for now and invite you back next week. Paul will be here to talk about the AMSAT stuff. And if you like Ham Talk Live, please consider leaving us a review on iTunes or wherever you listen. It helps others find us faster. So for now, this is Neil Rapp, WB9VPG, saying 7375, and may the good DX be yours.